This is the lesson for Mod 9, Lesson 7C, solving for missing angles with trigonometry. In the previous video, we looked at using our trig ratio, sine, cosine, and tangent to find a missing side for a right triangle using trig. In this video, we're going to look at how do we use the inverse ratios to solve for a missing angle, right? So how do we undo the process to find what the angle is? So the steps look very similar. So we label our diagram, we determine our ratio we're going to use. We use sine, cosine, and tangent. The only difference is we're going to use what's called an inverse. So we're going to use our calculator to have our calculator find a missing angle for us. So for our example, this problem says find the measure of A. So in this case, we don't know what angle A is. We know it's angle A, but we don't know how many degrees that it is. So what we're going to do is the same thing that we did with our sides. So I'm going to write SOHCAHTOA above it. And we're first going to label everything in relation to the angle we're trying to find. You can call it X if you want. I'm going to keep it as A for this example, but we can call it whatever we like. So in relation to angle A, 27 is the hypotenuse. If I, again, trace my angle, you can see that I have my adjacent and my opposite. The 18 and the 27 are my opposite and hypotenuse, so you can see you're going to use sine. And so I have this ratio of sine of some angle A is 18 over 27. If I want to reduce that, I can, but we're going to go ahead now and use our calculator to solve that out. So now that we have this ratio, what we have to do is use an inverse. So we have to look up in our calculator the sine of what angle is 18 over 27, or 2/3 is what that would reduce out to be. So we have to use our inverse here. So I'm going to look up in my calculator the sine of what angle is 18 over 27. In our calculator, what we do is instead of hitting just regular sine, you would hit second and sine. So that generates the inverse, and then 18 divided by 27, and then you would close the parenthesis. You can see our calculator gave us an answer of 41.81. So if I was to round this to the nearest degree, the measure of angle A is actually about 42 degrees. So that's what this means here. So if I did nearest degree, that would be 42 degrees. If I had to find B, I can do the same process with a different ratio, but we know that the triangle adds up to 180. So if I subtracted, I would get my other angle to be 48 degrees if I wanted to find that angle too. For example, 1 and 2, we're basically doing the same thing. So the first one's asking for what's the measure of angle A, and then we're also going to find the measure of angle B as well. So if I start with A and label everything out, I have an opposite and an adjacent. So my trig ratio I'm going to use is tangent. So the tangent of angle A is 14 over 15. Again, I'm not dividing by tangent or anything. I have to use my inverse. So in my calculator, I would do second and tangent of 14 over 15. And to the nearest degree, that would give me angle A. So when I do that, I actually would get the measure of angle A is going to be 43 degrees. If I was to go ahead now and find B, I can do the same process for angle B, but I know that this adds up to 180. So if I subtract from 180, because I know B plus 43 plus 90 is 180. So I actually know that the measure of angle B, when I subtract that, is going to be 47 degrees. And that would be my final answer. In this next example, this is one where you have all three sides, and it's just asking for one angle. I don't know what this angle is, so I'm going to maybe just call it X for right now. I want to find what X is. And if I label everything in relation to that angle, I have my opposite, my hypotenuse, and then this is my adjacent. And so when I write this out, I can either say the sine of X is 72 over 90. I could say the cosine of X is 54 over 90. Or I could say the tangent of X is 72 over 54. All of these would get me the same exact answer, so I actually don't have to do all three. I only need to do one of them. So when we go ahead and solve this out, we basically are just going to do so second in sine, or second in cosine, or second in tangent. Let's say I do second tan because I haven't done that one yet. Oh no, I did second tan. Let's say I do cosine. That's going to end up giving me 53 degrees. So it doesn't matter which of these we use, all of them are going to get me 53 degrees. So you don't have to do all three. We actually get this to be 53 degrees. I'm going to say X is 53 degrees. If you have questions, make sure you are trying the U-Try problems and then asking for help during class, signing up for T-Bolt time, or getting help in the center.